And hello, Paul. This is Sandy Schoelles with Paul. I'm going to tell you right now, we're on Ecamm Live, but we are on my Ecamm Live. And right now, it is telling me that the stream quality is lowered because I have crappy internet. But I'm going to be able to tell how well we're doing by looking at my telephone to see what the video looks like. And guess what? Look what
Looks good.
We look good.
Looks good.
All right. So let's see. We'll wait for people to join us because I do not think any. Oh, well, two people have joined us. And welcome. Today has been, for me, it's been an emotional day. Memorial Day usually is because of the loss of, really, I say now the kids, because, well, when I was a kid, we lost friends in Vietnam. And when now my daughter, then I had to go through her losing friends. She's 30, and it was really traumatic. And today I woke up and I know I did that live stream because all I did was look on Twitter to try to get something for, something nice, right? And then, I see the president and all that nonsense, and that was it. It just ticked me off for the whole day. It just made me feel like, is this what these kids went to frickin' war for, to die for having a Donald Trump?
I'm glad you did that video. I'm glad you did that video.
I almost lost it a couple times. I was in the car and emotional, but all right, well, we've got a lot of people here, so you can't see them, or can you see them?
Oh, I can see him.
All right. Hi, everybody. Warren's here. S. Shiva's here. Buddy's here. CB, Eric, and Bev. And hopefully you guys can't hear. I have the big old fan on because it's hot as hell in here. But I guess Paul said he couldn't hear it. So, Paul, take it away. And I'm not doing anything funny with any of these screens. I'm not touching anything. So, I'm not screwing it up. Take it away, Paul.
Well, Sandy, Memorial Day always evokes a lot of feelings for me. My whole life has run parallel with America's perpetual warfare. Started in Vietnam, where we received daily updates of body counts.
Oh, yeah.
And it continued through the now endless Middle Eastern ventures. So Memorial Day always brings up a lot of feelings for me. My family, my family are immigrants. We came from the Caribbean, British background, and none of my immediate family served in the American Armed Forces. Of course, if you look far back, mm-hmm. you will always find some relative who fought in a war.
In my family,
I guess the last I've discovered, I had a great grandfather ×6 who fought in the Battle of the Saints, which was a Royal Navy affair against the French in the Caribbean, and a few kind of colonial type battles since. But war has affected pretty much every family, I would say. And I'm like you. I came across a post from one of my friends, not a close friend, someone I went to nursing school with. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to read it to you, Sandy.
Okay.
And because I commented initially on it, and then I decided not to. Hold on. Here's a post. It's short. To all the crazy bastards and brave men and women that stood against evil and died for this country as heroes, thank you for this day. Okay. Now, it's a simple enough sentence, but to me it evoked a lot of it to me repeated a lot of American propaganda. War as being personneled by heroes, that I've got a problem with. I mean, I would say in today's day and age, we should be beyond such simple categorizing. And then, of course, the stood against evil. Okay, so I'd like somebody to explain to me how the poor conscripted soldiers who opposed our own soldiers were evil.
Right.
How can you describe them as evil? Okay,
Human beings.
Saddam's forces were conscripted. Okay, and as far as I can make out, they pretty much didn't put up much resistance when we went into Iraq. That's just an example, of course. So this whole binary view of evil or good, I got a problem with. And then I've also got a problem with the term heroes
Yeah, I
as
hear you.
applied to someone who happened to be in the army, who happened to serve in the army. I've got a problem with this. Am I being too harsh, Sandy?
Um, I don't know. What is a hero? I mean, most people, I suppose most patriots in this country who call themselves patriots would call everybody in the military a hero. And I'm not going to take away from anything that these people do in the military. They join the military for a better life, basically, in this country. But it's almost like they're born and bred for it,
Yeah,
you
it's like a
know?
college track occupation, right? I mean, since we're not offering free education as we should for our young people, they're forced into this conscription, right? This voluntary conscription into the military in order to get their college paid for and so
Yeah.
on. Is that what you were getting at?
Yeah, that but where does the word hero come in? Does it come in are they a hero if they kill a certain amount of people? Are they a hero if they save a certain amount of people? Are they a hero if they don't? Are they a hero if they intercept? I mean, what constitutes a hero in war? And you're
Right,
right, should we use that word?
right.
Should we
And
use
how about
that
the
word?
people who went to Canada, gave up all that they had known, and went into Canada to avoid fighting what they believed was an unjust war and an unjust draft in Vietnam?
Conscientious objectors. Yes,
Yeah.
there were a lot of them. And a lot of people were very angry at them at the time. I remember that back then because my older brother didn't want to go and he was ready to go to Canada. And it didn't happen. He didn't have to go to Canada. But it was, I never felt bad about those people, but I felt everybody should have a choice. But you see, we don't have a draft now, but I'm
Hmm.
afraid that we're going towards having a draft. So we
Well,
go
what
from,
they've done, of
yeah.
course, is they've taken when I say they, I mean basically our society has taken away, our government has taken away social programs so that really they can actually pick and choose
Yeah.
the volunteers in because of the college benefits and other benefits, career path benefits. So I don't know about the draft. I think the rich and connected and the well connected don't want their kids to be drafted. It is they know they cannot run an unfair draft like they did during the Vietnam Wars, where minorities were unfairly overrepresented
Why?
in
Why? These days.
because yeah, again, because what's his name? Trump doesn't want his kids to go. He himself didn't go.
No, he
Uh,
didn't go, but he got a phony medical.
Right. But I'm just saying, those who are wealthy and who run the strings of our government, they don't want their kids to go. So they'll just keep this voluntary situation where we offer free college education and so on and veterans benefits in exchange for getting these people to potentially sign themselves up for death.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Six
um,
over 6,000, right? Or I think it was 6,600, something like that. Kids, people, human beings, Americans died to go and do what in Iraq and Afghanistan? To do what? And that's
well,
what really kills
55
me.
Well, 55,000 were killed in Vietnam. Okay, a venture that uh, really is forgotten today. I mean, the winning it or losing it didn't really mean anything in the greater macro sphere of things. So they said that the killing fields in Cambodia the whole idea of marching everybody off and killing off everybody who had any form of education derived from a master's thesis written by Q. Sampan in France, in the Lycée in France. So all those deaths, 2 million plus deaths of Cambodians, came from ideas that derived from a master's thesis by an autocrat. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
guess what? We had 55,000 Americans that died
5,000.
based on the domino theory of George Kennan. Another
Yeah. George
stupid
Cannon.
political bit of tripe. So how are we different, Sandy? How are we any different?
We're not.
Um,
We've just continued with the same type of people in power. We've just continued. And we got a John Bolton. But the thing, I want to mention something here. I put up, what is a hero? Because I wanted answers from our viewers. And actually, Oswald looked it up, and he said, hero, synonyms according to Google: brave man, champion, man of courage, great man, of course it says man of the hour. And he said he was surprised that Google let that slide, that hero. So could we say that just by virtue of the fact that you went into the military in this country, that you're a hero because you're brave to go into I don't know.
Well, as you were reading that, Sandy, you know who came to my mind? Muhammad Ali. And here I see Cheryl Hewitt also mentioned Muhammad Ali. Those lines fit Muhammad Ali, who was accused of being a draft dodger, who did not fight in Vietnam, and who gave up his heavyweight title for 3 years, which was taken from him because he refused to fight. Muhammad Ali is a hero,
He's a
okay,
hero.
And he didn't fight.
Because
he was actually opposed to fighting.
Stood up for his principles.
But if I may have your indulgence, I want to share what I wrote on Facebook today, because I think that this pretty much summarizes my view. I wrote, every country praises its soldiers and feels they fight for what is right. We can't all be right, but there is a universal victimhood for every fallen conscripted soldier from any land or tribe and for whatever cause. This is what Memorial Day should represent. Mm-hmm. The fallen individual soldier who had no say. It should not be part of a call for nationalism and support for the greedy and cruel pathways of military planners and arms producers. I want no part of the passing of the military-industrial complex, of the military-industrial complex and its shaming of those who don't enlist while forsaking those who return physically or mentally maimed. Let's leave Memorial Day to the men and women who died fighting for something or for nothing, who were ripped from the tree of life before full maturity. This is not for the state. Keep your greedy corporate hands away from our mourning and our pride. That's pretty much sums up my feelings about Memorial Day. I get really angry when Memorial Day comes around, and we hear the media tripe, the platitudes. Thanks for your service. A very annoying platitude for me.
I agree with you.
It's a shaming. It's a shaming for those of us who can actually see through it. Okay, and at the same time, they ignore the pain, the maiming of those who came back. So many came back with bad PTSD. I look after them in the hospital. These people are maimed for life.
Let me tell you a story about when I was in high school. And my girlfriends and I, we were young. We were like 14, 15. And a bunch of guys came back from Vietnam and had an apartment. And us girls used to go down there and smoke pot. We used to sit and smoke pot with them. We thought we were really cool. They were nice guys. My one girlfriend was dating, they were 19 and 20, 21, 22. They had been in the war. They came back. But you want to know something about almost every single one of them? Tommy and Carl, and I grew up fast. They were heroin addicts. They came back from Vietnam as heroin addicts. And in fact, Roseanne was dating Carl, and Carl overdosed in the bathtub right in the apartment when we were all over there listening to records on the record player. Carl died. And that was trauma. They left and came back completely different
Hmm.
people. And that
Hmm.
was something back in 19, what was that? I was like, so young. It was 1974, 3. I mean, I was a little kid, but we were hanging around listening to records, smoking pot with these guys who had been to hell and back, but they came back with a heroin problem. And and that was pretty common for that war. It destroys the soul. It destroys people. And
Yet
then where's the support when they come back?
the casualties did not end when the war ended. The casualties continued, and that's, Sandy, was what you saw. The
Yeah,
casualties continuing.
I
And
know. Makes me
when
sad.
when someone is killed, it's not just that person. It's the whole web of connections, a web of human connections that is interrupted, that is sundered at the same time. That the families involved. You're killing off, in a way of, you're killing off families. You're killing off tribes. It extends. It ripples out from the center, ripples away from the actual single death into, in essence, multiple, I don't want to say deaths, but certainly a lot of suffering, a
Suffering
lot
on
of maiming, a lot of
every
psychological
side.
maiming.
And every side. I mean, we send our people, but what happens? Look at all of the horrors that happen in Iraq to the people. Look at all the horrors that happen in Afghanistan. Nothing is the same. And we still have people there. And now we're going to
Yes.
start a fight, try to start a war with Iran. And it makes me crazy. I went to Washington, D.C. and marched against Iraq war twice. I rode with
Good for you,
the kids.
Sandy.
I've been anti-war since Nixon came through Irving, where I went to high school, and he wouldn't stop the motorcade because I was with all the people that had the gigantic McGovern sign. And once that motorcade, they saw that we were liberals and did not like them. And in where I lived in that Hudson River town, whoop, went right through. We didn't want that piece of shit to stop, and he didn't. He didn't. I'll never forget it. I've grown up, I guess, with a radical bug in me. That's really when I got it. I used to hang around McGovern headquarters. I was so anti-war. I mean, I'm 7th grade and 8th grade. Already knew heroin addicts, kids from Vietnam that came back. I already knew, the horrors of life young. It's just so sad. And I guess that's where it came from for me. And when my daughter lost that kid, friend of hers, from when he went to Iraq, and she told me what happened. My daughter it was devastating. They were friends. But it was devastating. And can you imagine, this was a friend, the families and all, and then the families are given such a bunch of shit. They're told lies. Your son died as a hero. No, he was murdered and maimed because he had to go for an unjust war, which they all are unjust. Because we wanted the oil. We want control. We want power. I never realized, you have your epiphany about your own country. I mean, I love my country. I live here, but I don't love a lot of things about it. You don't have to love who's in power. You don't have to love the politics. I love people. But it's
Right,
sickening
right,
that we had my
right.
poor daughter, And so this whole Facebook thing today that upset me was that I made the post about Trump not going because of his tweets, which were really disgusting and political and awful. And you set the tone at the top, and we have nothing set in this country. We have nothing but arguing and hatred. And I feel sorry for the veterans because they're stuck in the middle.
Well, we've had perpetual warfare basically since World War II here.
Yeah,
Lately, it's been
my
the
whole
Middle
life,
East.
your whole life.
My whole life, your whole life, absolutely. Um, and now Trump has sent, um, and Bolton, I suppose, is
Oh,
the
he's the
ideologue behind all this.
antichrist, evil. If you're going
Yeah,
to say those words, and I don't really believe in the words, but they sound pretty ominous. He is
yeah.
that.
So they've sent a military presence, a greater military presence now over into the Persian Gulf, trying to provoke Iran, and Now 8 billion, I think, was the figure, or 9 billion arms sales have been made to, or so-called allies,
To the
Saudi
Saudis.
Arabia, UAE,
Yeah.
and this did not go through Congress, of course. And we know what it is, Sandy. It's pork for the arms producers, for Raytheon and General Dynamics and Boeing. That's what it is. It's a pure pork bill with very ominous consequences, at least potential
Yeah.
ominous consequences. I mean, this thing is it's really evil. What I don't want to use that word evil, but
Okay.
it's really
despicable.
it's despicable.
It is really antithetical of what we really basically stand for. But then again, what do we stand for anymore? Do we even know in this country what we stand for? The United States of oligarchy?
People don't even know who they are anymore, Sandy, because they're so wrapped up in our television and media culture, that cell phone media culture. They have no clue how to even begin living a meaningful life. They have no clue.
I'm going to read
They have no clue. They just swallow all the platitudes that come from these, Facebook memes and television commercials, and because all we're marketed to all day long.
Wait, let me see if you can see that. That was the meme I put up.
Yeah, can you read it to me,
It
Sandy?
said all gave some gave all, and Donald Trump gave nothing. And there were 17 comments, but this is what my friend came on and said. She said, and this is the fake patriotism. It's all over. This is kind of disrespectful on
It's all
Memorial
over.
Day. When we are remembering soldiers who died for this country, politics has no place here. Politics has no place on Memorial Day when they're sent to die. So I said, okay, Barbara, then look at the president's tweets this morning. She writes, that's bullshit, Sandy. Who cares what he tweeted? Have some empathy for those that lost loved ones on both sides of politics.
As if you never did. As if you never did.
Right, but I said, I do, Barbara. Friends and family lost many, but I think respect comes from the top. Set an example, which this man clearly does not. However, this is a Facebook page. It's just an opinion, my opinion, and I was big enough, and I told her, I love all my friends, whether you agree with me or not. And then she said, it has nothing to do with your friendship. Our friendship, I respect your opinions, but still believe that she doesn't. But there is time and a place for them. Memorial Day is for our veterans. It's not a platform for anything else. No, I wrote back, I respect you too. But I spent the morning crying over the lack of respect I witnessed this morning. I was looking for something wonderful, and all of that disrespectful garbage came out. My thoughts went to my daughter's friend who lost his life for this country. My heart sank when I thought, is this what he died for? And then I got a really good, I'll read this one more thing. Doug Brewer. Sandy, with you 100%. This post rocks, and truth always be told. Their heels should always be held to the fire and never let up. People live and die every day based on the decisions these ass clowns make, and we all better start holding them to the standard we want for our lives and our loved ones' lives. Bless the truth teller no matter how or when they tell the truth, and have a wonderful day, and let no one slow your roll. And then she wrote back, okay, zealots, I give up. This craziness all started with respecting vets on Memorial Day and ended with a political platform. I wish you well. Hey, it's my freaking stupid Facebook page. Scroll the fuck on by. Jesus.
You can't fix stupid, I guess.
But I've been friends with this woman for 30 plus years, and I didn't realize that they were so entrenched in this fake, like my
propaganda, bullshit
my
platitudes.
My ex-husband is just like that. He makes me sick. How did I stay married to him for 20 years? He believes everything is, Trump. And lately I've been having conversations with him, sending him certain things, and I think maybe he's finally starting to think a little, because our daughter gets all over his shit because she calls him an idiot. She says, Dad is lost. What do you do?
Yeah, and of course we know, Sandy, that you're not just hitting at Trump. You're hitting at the whole complex. the people prior to him as well. It
Hmm.
just nothing changes.
Nothing ever.
Both parties that they're still all about this. The feeding, endless feeding of our arms builders, our arms producers,
Hmm.
the wanton use of our tax funds to throw at maintaining this perpetual war against what I would call, in many cases, imaginary enemies, imaginary foes. Uh, Now, this again, it gets me upset every Memorial Day when I think about this. So
Every
Memorial Day
Memorial
again
Day.
should be for the individual soldiers. Keep the state out.
And the
Keep the corporate
families.
state out.
And the families, and don't make it a
And the
corporate holiday,
families.
and
Absolutely.
certainly kick Donald Trump off Twitter already.
Because when you kill one person, you knock over a row of dominoes as well. That's the family and the deep friends. It's not one person. It's not one person.
Well, here's Ed's comment, and this is a pretty good one because Ed is right on pretty all the time. China's declining to roll over the bonds they bought to bail out our banks, which are now maturing. China imports oil from Venezuela and Iran. Where are we sending troops? China won't be intimidated. Boy, there's a good one. Thanks, Ed.
Yeah, thanks, Ed.
Ed's awesome.
You
You're
know,
awesome.
yeah, I mean, but again, this was an $8 billion some kind of quid pro quo from Trump to our arms, our industrial arms makers. I mean, that's all this is. I mean,
Northrop Grumman.
Boeing was taking a hit for what, the 747 problems and so on.
Yeah.
And sure, and suddenly he gives this big fillip to Boeing, with this $8 billion of arms. It's just so dirty. The whole thing just.
I got a question. Do you know any statistics on jobs in the military industrial complex? When the election was going on, I interviewed a couple of candidates from the state of Washington, where some of the big ones are. And
Yes.
I did talk to her about that, and I asked her. Well, I was doing it under the Off Fossil Fuels Act. I interviewed a bunch of them, these candidates, these progressive candidates. They don't win, but they have a voice, and they're trying. Well, she
Right.
was talking about. I said, how is that industry? How is the military industrial complex in your district going to change over from fossil fuels?
Yeah, well, they can't. I mean, close to us here in Toledo, General Dynamics has a plant in Lima, Ohio, or at least had one. They used to build tanks. One was the latest generation of tanks from that plant. No, it's tied up in absolutely. I mean, the environmental result from this arms buildup. I mean, there's no good that comes out of this.
Nothing. What
Again,
could these
it
people do?
just
What could these
it
people
just
do?
fills the pockets of those who are in that business.
Well, I think we
And
need to retool the whole thing, retool everything, retool the military industrial complex, retool all that to possibly do things to clean up our environment. I mean, it could be done if we had the right leadership. It could be done. And all those jobs that people think they're going to lose from not being able to make bombs anymore and killing machines could be turned into a lot of good for our country and our
well, I think,
communities.
Sandy, what are we talking? We're talking like the annual military budget is somewhere close to $700 billion. That's a
Senator.
lot of scratch.
Yeah.
You know, that's a lot of
But
money. I
what
mean,
could
we
they
could.
build? They don't have to build bombs. They don't have to build guns. They don't have to build that stuff. We have crumbling bridges. We have crumbling infrastructure. We have terrible schools. And instead of
And
putting,
we have kids saddled with student loans. I
yeah,
mean, we could pay off
mine.
every loan, every student loan, with that money, and still have hundreds of billions left.
Yeah, so those
We
kids
could
don't have to
we,
go into the military.
we could end homelessness. I think for $100 billion is the or something like that. I mean, this is, or I don't remember the figures. Okay, folks, so don't hold me to it. But you can do a lot for $700 billion. Okay, and but what's going to lead to that, Sandy? I mean, I think we just need an entire overhaul of our system. You know,
Absolutely.
um, you
How?
know, my partner in Reality Report, is a fervent believer of going through the existing system, and he's very sophisticated politically and understands how things work. For me, being the unsophisticated
I don't think you're
person, as
unsophisticated
far
at
as
all.
my understanding of politics, I just think the whole apple cart needs to be overturned, and we start, we rebuild. Because I don't see us. It doesn't matter who you vote for. You're still, in the end,
Well, but we
voting
still got to
for.
vote. I think it's our right that I mean it's
Well, and
something we
I will,
should
of
do.
course, but in the end, we're still voting for, economic extinction and environmental extinction. That's what we're voting for every time we vote. It doesn't matter who you vote for. But of course, I will. I do agree with my partner that the Republicans are the worst.
I agree with the Republicans are the worst. Today I had a woman comment.
It's hard
Of course,
to.
well, there's so many people that like to bring this up. I'm talking about Trump. I'm talking specifically about his behavior. I'm talking about what he is doing publicly on Twitter, how he is behaving, what is setting. And of course, she brings up, did you read Hillary Clinton's emails? It's the whataboutism. Did you go backwards? And I wrote to her, pretty much with all due respect, I'm
Yeah.
going forward. Uh, that's over. Yeah, maybe the DNC is still stinks. They're doing their same games, and they're still going to be responsible for sending kids to war. I mean, it's not going to change. But I do tend to say with you that, yeah, the apple cart has to be upset, but do we have time to upset the apple cart so that we don't have to send these kids to
Well,
slaughter?
I'm a big believer, Sandy, that, I'm very active in the financial markets, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that this very aged bull market is going to end quietly. When it rolls over and dies, it's going to bring banks down with it. And this could usher in a big economic collapse. Quite frankly, we haven't fully recovered from the 2008 disaster. We bailed out AIG, we bailed out
Oh, the
GM.
banksters.
We should have nationalized them. We should own the people.
But then we're socialists and all those
We should
freaking
own
morons.
Ford. I
They
mean, not
don't
Ford.
know.
Ford wasn't bailed, but GM. We should own. We should be the owners of General Motors.
Isn't Ford laying off thousands and thousands of people?
Yeah, right, right. I mean, just like Cardenas in Mexico nationalized the railroads suddenly overnight without any warning. We should have just said, "Hey, we bailed you out, GM. Now we own you."
Yeah, and then we should have told them you have so much time to make cars that aren't going to spew CO2. A million Priuses like the one I have that took away on a tow truck last night.
Yeah. So I mean,
Oh,
so
boy.
I fervently believe that we're going to get a pretty nasty economic hit. It's hard to tell when. As long as the Federal Reserve keeps rates at the 2% area, obviously there's still enough cash. I mean, let me put it this way: there's not enough competition for dollars in the stock market when a bank can only offer 2%. But if you get that to 3, 4, 5%, that's where we get the collapses.
Right?
And the Federal Reserve just can't keep rates as low as they are. I mean, or internationally. Although I must say the international bond rates are dropping. But so I know there's a big talk about what was it I called debt jubilee and
No, it's really called the debt strike, and it has been
debt
talked.
strike.
It's in
Right, right.
Collapse
I
Reddit.
see. I don't think we need any of that. I think the wealthy have done a good job of crashing this economy. They've done it many times, and they've done a great. They're the experts at it. They are the dynamite blasters of this economy.
They're also the
They
ones
will
that
blow
send
this
the
bridge,
kids to war.
and we don't need to bust up our personal credits, along the way, because trust me, the rich know how to do it. The bankers know how to do it. In their greed, their never-ending greed, they just don't know how to stop.
I'm telling you. And that's really the bottom line, going full circle back to Memorial Day, is that the reason why our sons and daughters, our brothers and sisters, our mothers and fathers in some case, died in these wars because of those people, because of the greed, because that it's
Absolutely.
just unrestrained. Now we've got some really good stuff going on in the
We have to take our sovereignty back from the government, Sandy, and I'm not sure how to do it, but I think that um, it'll arise. Things will, the opportunity will come in the next economic collapse. We have to see exactly what gets broken uh, at that stage.
So let me ask you a
And
question, and this is kind of selfish, but what do people do that are in these, that have, let's say, a retirement account? Do they move their money and they say, okay, I'm just moving it all, if they have that ability, to a money market and then just leave it there because it's safe? Because
yes,
that's what I did.
yes,
I didn't
yes,
lose a
yes.
cent in 2008 because I was smart. I watched it. I moved it all to a money market. But I'll tell
Very
you,
clever of you.
yeah,
Yeah,
well, I did that now too, and I don't have much left.
you
And by
did
the
that
time
now too.
oh, hell yeah, but by the time I'm 65, we're going to have nothing left because I take out every year to pay off the debt from the year before. But because, well, at least when my husband wasn't working since the bike accident. But I mean, we're going to have nothing left. I figure in 5 years I'll be really an old lady poor. But so I
Well,
guess
certainly
my
this is not the
strategies.
time for anyone to get ambitious with stock market investments. I think the
I'm
money market approach is probably wise.
I'm just leaving it there, and then it's not even that much. It's not even. I worked all these years, 20 years, and it's like I never thought I didn't have, because I was always nervous, and I moved it into the money market when I thought things were going to go bad, and I never lost. But well, whatever.
Well, nobody has a pension anymore, Sandy. I don't know. Maybe you've accumulated pensions, but very few people have pensions anymore. So
I
it's
have
they're,
a 40
they're
wait 403b. It's
yeah,
nonprofit
but that's
account.
your monies. You
TIAA
put,
CREF.
yeah, but you put that in yourself.
No, my company did. It they
Oh, okay.
it's it there when I came, I was on a good tier, but it never seemed like it was that great, and I saved my own money. But it wasn't called a pension per se. It's a 403b because we were a
Yeah, it's not a
501c3
pension. It's a defined contribution plan,
deferred
not a
compensation
defined
plan.
benefit. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Boy, did
Um,
we go far off the main track. We got onto money.
yeah, most Americans are going to be fully reliant on, fully dependent on Social Security. The pension generation is gone. Um, unless you had a city or state job. So it's really, I think Social Security and Medicare have to become the two cardinal issues for the liberal side, and for the American
And for
people.
the American people. I mean,
Yeah,
these people don't seem to
absolutely.
understand that they might be hiding behind the American flag, and I'm a patriot, and God bless Trump, and he's the. There's even people on that are saying that Trump is the one that's gonna save everything, and I don't even know this Q shit, whatever it is. My ex-husband sent me something. I said, "Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind?" But then, in the next breath, you're gonna lose your Social Security, dude, if you keep up supporting this shit.
Right.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
correct.
yeah.
And of course, the Mitch McConnells of the world and the Paul Ryans. I mean, they want to kill off, really weaken these two. I would say cornerstones of the
Yeah, they're
of,
crazy.
of our social programs. That was strengthened or put into place under Lyndon Johnson's administration. Um, so really, our battle really is to preserve and strengthen Social Security and Medicare. Now, if the whole system goes kaput, well, first of all, nothing goes kaput. But if the whole apple cart gets overturned, what happens?
What
Well,
happened?
we'll have to see. But we have to fight to create a new and equally just society
Which
entity
is
out of the
That's what
ashes.
our friend S. Shiva said. Corporations have usurped our government. We the people must take it back. Well, that's overturning Citizens United, and the one before that. The slow erosion of our whole political system because of money. Corporations are people. Sorry, guys, I'm sweating to death. It's very, very warm where I
Well,
am.
Book Hermit has a good suggestion. He says, want to fix things, tie COLA adjustments to total government spending. COLA means cost of living
Right.
adjustments.
Hmm.
And absolute great idea, Book Hermit. And it's funny. The conservative side comes in and they're all about so-called fiscal responsibility, but nobody spends more like a drunken sailor than a Republican who has his hands in taxpayer dollars. Nobody
Yeah.
spends more, and as Trump has shown us. And you know, they 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 deficit spend and then want to take it out of our piggy bank, our Social Security piggy bank. It's not right.
You
And
know, it's same thing in okay, I worked in academia and we used to do because I was director of payroll and HR, and we stopped calling it COLA though. We never called it COLA after a certain year. We had another term, but because it really wasn't adjusted for the cost of living. There's no
right,
way we could have done that. And the percentages from when I had started, where we would get a 3% every single year. Oh no, that had stopped. That had stopped. I can't even imagine what it's like under Trump for research or research dollars. I can't even imagine. Can't even imagine. I didn't mean to cut you off. Just
no,
thought
no,
that
no,
meant
no,
it.
no, you're doing great,
Oh, it's like
Sandy.
90 degrees in my office here. I should have taken my laptop outside with the whole modem and the whole thing and sat outside my lounge chair.
I've got the fan going here.
So I got the fan on too. There's my low budget fan.
Yeah, we're all in a cool down mode here, Sandy.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
so, I was working over the weekend, 12-hour shifts. I work a night shift in a hospital. And it's nice to be off. And I'm facing a few days off in a row here. And anyway, we got our Memorial Day complaints out of the way. And we'll get past it. But it still got me to reading, going through some of my books of my favorite poets. And, I really like reading about war poets. They're I really enjoy reading them. Let's put it that way.
Did
World
you?
War One produced a great crop of
Oh,
war poets,
yes.
and it's always been a subject, I guess, of that was conducive to the poetic inspiration.
Did you
So
did you want to go over the Howard Zinn um,
absolutely.
article? I don't want to read the whole thing, but I have to say, and I didn't
Well,
mean
let's
to
go
cut
through
you off,
highlights of
but
it.
okay.
Yeah.
I put this up. It's the Zinn Project. Here we are. We're so professional. I'm not going to touch this thing and ruin this screen. So there you go. Okay. It was in 1976 he wrote this, and it was in the Boston Globe. And basically, it starts out, he says, Memorial Day will be celebrated as usual by high speed collisions of automobiles and bodies strewn on highways and the sound of ambulance sirens
I can
all throughout
attest.
the
I can.
land.
I can attest to that, Sandy. Man, they were coming into the hospital big time this weekend.
Oh,
Anyway, go on.
oh, that's a whole other live stream, probably. Um, so he talks about blah blah. Okay, and then he talks about in 1976, celebrated by giant corporations for Memorial Day, which make guns, bombs, fighter planes, aircraft carriers, and an endless assortment of military junk, which await at that time the 100 billion in contracts to be approved soon by Congress and the president. 1976. I hadn't even graduated high school. Nothing has freaking changed. And so he talks about no politician who voted funds for war, no business contractor for the military, no general who ordered young men into battle, no FBI man who spied on anti war activities should be invited to public ceremonies on this sacred day. Let the
Yes.
dead of the
Amen.
past wars be honored.
Amen.
Let those who live pledge themselves never to embark on mass slaughter again. And then it goes on, and he wrote about people, Thoreau, who went to jail in protest of the Mexican War. He talks about Mark Twain, who denounced our war against the Filipinos at the turn of the century, I.F. Stone, who virtually alone among newspaper editors exposed the fraud and brutality of the Korean War, and Martin Luther King, who thundered against the war in Vietnam. Memorial Day should be a day for putting flowers on graves and planting trees. Also, for destroying the weapons of death that endanger us more than they protect us, that waste our resources and threaten our grandchildren, children and grandchildren. We should take note that on Memorial Day, the name of defenses in defense, our taxes have been used to spend $250 million on a helicopter assault ship named the biggest floating lemon. So back then, even then, they were wasting money on stuff.
Right.
Howard Zinn, I think everybody should. If you're not familiar with Howard Zinn, you should get familiar. Tom Hartman reads a lot of Howard Zinn pieces and on his show. Sometimes in between. Yes.
I read Howard Zinn's People's History of the Supreme
Bye, Bill
Court.
Kermit. Yeah.
Great, great. I really enjoyed it. He's a good writer. How about the 20 soldiers, American soldiers that were killed in the invasion of Grenada? Okay.
That was Reagan's doing, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't
yeah.
that just
Why
a stupid posturing?
those people were killed for no
For
reason.
no reason.
I mean, and those are just the American side. On the Grenadian side, I don't recall. I wasn't really looking at the figures, but I mean,
see.
how do you justify that?
I don't know. I'm going to look it up.
Where's the good and evil in that equation? Okay. Where's the thank you for your service bullshit, in that?
Right.
What
was
it really ticks you off. Me off anyway, and I know you. It's, as you said, nothing has changed.
No, nothing has changed. And I'm looking to see in Grenada, how many people? It keeps spelling it wrong.
It wasn't a large number, but I know there were 20 Americans.
But it was even stupid to go. I remember at the time.
Of course.
We let's see. Wikipedia says we went in 1983. It was led by the United States of the Caribbean island nation, which has a population of, it's pathetic, 91,000, but located 160 kilometers, 99 miles north of Venezuela. You see. Now, I bet they're eyeing Grenada again pretty heavily because of Venezuela. But
the whole action was pretty much universally condemned by
19
the world.
Killed, 116 wounded, and 9 helicopters lost. That was us. In Grenada, 45 killed, 337 wounded.
Are they talking the American side?
No, 19 killed the United States, 45 killed
from about
Grenada.
20. I may recall it was about 20, yeah.
So Grenada, we killed people that lived over there for absolutely freaking nothing. Absolutely freaking nothing. Everything is absolutely freaking nothing. I'm sorry. It just is.
But again, it's just what Trump is doing now. It was a fillip that was designed for the industrial military complex. For arms builders. After all, these little skirmishes are what we call scrimmage games, kind of scrimmages to test out our weaponry. It's just evil. The whole military-industrial complex has to be overthrown.
We have to find a different word for you from evil. Should I look it up?
And I don't see it happening.
Acronym for evil. Well, I don't either, but I don't want to be negative. Everybody pegged me as a doomer and all that, but I still sometimes have a little shred that maybe, as I said in my earlier live stream, maybe we can go down with some dignity and some class before we ruin the earth completely.
Well, Sandy, at our age, I think it's fair to say that people tend to enjoy their lives because we live it as we want to. We're beyond the age of overriding ambition. We're beyond the age where we give a damn what others say about us. So, we just live the way we want to. So I am just enjoying as much of the present hour as I'm able to. And I don't need hope. I don't really need it. I don't. It doesn't fuel me. I'm fueled by right action. I know a lot of this sounds like Guy McPherson, but when I say right action, I mean right action for me. the stuff that brings me meaning. That is what motivates. That's the fuel for me, and I'm sure for you as well. I mean, we do these things, these shows, these broadcasts because we enjoy them. We feel some kind of expression, some inner satisfaction. At least I do.
Well, I
And
do. I can't do a whole lot else. I mean, I'm sitting here tonight. Really, I should have my neck brace on. My hands are numb. I'm a mess. I'm fighting just my body collapse, but I'm not going to give up. And I want to go and I want to go do so many things. I mean, we're fighting a pipeline. I'm supposed to go to a training. I can't even sit through these things. It's very frustrating. But that's why the online world is so important for me, because without it, I don't know. I don't know who I would be. I've never had in my life nothing. I've always had and worked hard or had something. And when I had to leave my job, I really did have a nervous breakdown. I pretty much fell apart. I didn't know what I was going to do. And all this online stuff, I didn't know what streaming was or any of it. Just came by accident because of Bernie, because I was involved in a group and somebody said, "Hey, you want to come in and be with us in Real Progressives?" And I'm like, "Okay." And, the rest is history. And they taught me how to do everything. I didn't know how to do anything. Fiesta's here. She says, "I am here. You can begin now." Fiesta, buddy, from San Francisco. Thanks for being here, Fiesta. There's so many good comments. Let's get to a couple here. Anthony had said something I want to put up. Anthony said, he says, "I cannot believe people actually think Trump even stands a chance in 2020. I mean, he is headed towards impeachment in just a matter of time." Anthony, I wouldn't be so sure.
right,
The way, Anthony, these people are frightening. His base is frightening. They are so brainwashed. They are so Fox, saturated. They are so lied to. They believe people like John Bolton and Pompeo. They've been working on this since the Tea Party. They've been working on this since Bush. The takeover. They
right,
want to take over the United States. And we are not a democracy anymore.
right.
Who thinks we're a democracy out there? Well,
Not me.
CV says, Buddy says, "I think everything's fixed." Well, you know something? The only thing I say to that is, if you think it's fixed, become an election inspector. Sometimes you have to get into the system to fix the system. I did it, and I was election inspector. I worked the polls and all. I can't do it anymore. I can't even do it. I can't sit that long. But you know what's going on. So to fix it, sometimes you have to infiltrate. You have to get in. And even if you hate the Democrats, you want to change things, maybe you got to infiltrate. It's what progressives are doing. That's why there's Justice Democrats. That's why there's other parts. There's options. You don't have to be a lackey for the DNC. And I'm not saying there has to be just a two-party system, but my opinion is, if we splinter it, Trump will win. I'm dead. 6 more years of this shit, I can't do it. I will not be able to.
Well, I think we will get an economic collapse before that, Sandy. And will we survive the economic collapse? I kind of think we will.
Yeah, but who's we?
It will do some damage.
Will the inner city people?
Well, I mean, the existing system will survive. That's what I really meant. No, a lot of people will be hurt. But I think it's because from an environmental standpoint, we're not ready for the eastern seaboard to be over flooded and things like that. Because I think that will really lead to the final economic collapse. Once all the coastal cities are rendered uninhabitable owing to rising sea levels. I don't know when the time that's projected, but anyway, we're in a whole heap of trouble. As you know, it's all connected. The environment, the economy, the politics, it's all connected. But I agree with you. Don't be so sure about Trump not winning in 2020. Brian has pointed out what he calls the silent coup d'etat.
Yeah.
And I think he's absolutely correct on this, where the current regime is using extra legal measures to solidify their hold on power.
So.
And they're a minority that is still ruling the majority. and they have ways of continuing that, and they're working towards it. So
Sure.
Brian's absolutely correct on that. I disagree with them about how we change things. I think we have to overturn the whole apple cart. He feels we can do it within the system through our normal voting habits and so on. I don't see that, but
I don't know. I mean, I would like Shiva, she's like, I believe that enough of us progressives are Bernie or Green Party only because we know that corporate Democrats will continue to kill the biosphere and humanity. So it's Bernie or bust. But the thing is, you know,
it is Bernie or bust to me. But
well, I love Bernie Sanders. Bernie is my little piece. But the thing, I also love Tulsi, but they'll never let her go in. Her anti-war stance, it resonates with me. I listen to her, and it makes me feel like somebody is sane out there. But I do also think it's Bernie's. I think it's Bernie's time. You know.
Well, Bernie and his, associates,
Mm-hmm.
AOC and Tulsi and all of them, yeah.
Jeff
And
says, "Oh, sorry. Go ahead."
go ahead.
Jeff says, "If we don't address election integrity, then we can kiss it goodbye." And how are we going to do that by 2020? Who's doing it? That's what I want to know. If I was still in this county Democratic Party, like I was when I was infiltrating and being election inspector, because they knew I was a progressive, they knew who I was, I would be trying to do that. I can't. But others are. They're still doing it here. They're still doing it, the progressives. I mean, can the DNC be infiltrated? Can the Democratic Party change? So many people say no, but I live in a rural area and I see a lot of progressives coming out of the woodwork. A little county like ours, you know, they're here, even though it's very red. They're here, and I'm involved with them when I can be. Mm-hmm.
Right. So in the meantime, just do the right thing. I mean, the right thing for you and everybody. And that's all we can do. Follow your conscience. Think things out. Certainly, I don't know. To me, I escape the marketing world. I don't want to have any access to any real, mainstream media. I don't want anything to do with it. And not because I fear that I'm going to be brainwashed, because I'm certainly capable of independent thought, but I just don't want to hear the bullshit. I just don't even want to hear it.
Sometimes you have to hear it so you know how to commentate on it.
Right. Well, I'll leave that up to you, Sam.
Oh, listen, I go to things that just disgust me, conspiracy sites, and I look at the stuff that I read on YouTube and people's comments and this whole, second coming of that Trump is like this messiah and he's going to be doing what. I can't even get into it. It's just a collective sickness. I call it an infection. And I guess it started with the Tea Party? Before the Tea Party? It's an infection. And it's proliferating. Now, let's see what Fiesta says. Fiesta says, oh, please, nothing will change until either it collapses or heads start going up on pikes. They are making too much money. It's pretty poignant there, Fiesta, because, it could be a Game of Thrones future. Who knows?
Well, I like Rick's comment. He says maximum wage limits. Great idea. Love the idea.
Maximum wage limits.
Yeah, maximum. We have minimums. Let's have maximums.
Okay. Well, let's see. Oh, well, now Mother Nature's son is a little controversial. He says Bernie's bought and paid for by the military industrial complex, too. How so, though? I just don't see that in Bernie Sanders. I see that he's made voting decisions that you may not like, but the problem is they stuff so much shit in all of these bills that sometimes you have to pick and choose, and you have to almost bite the bullet just to vote for a bill so that something in it gets passed. So I don't know why, I'm not so quick to say that. And he says he's a distraction. Why is he a distraction? I don't think he's a distraction. What were you doing in 2014? And then in 2015, when Bernie came along, what were you doing then? Because a hell of a lot of us woke up. And where we are now is because of him. And don't tell me it's not.
And socialism is not a dirty word anymore. And Medicare for all is now seen as a potential reality. So a lot of things have changed in a short period of
Two-week
time.
term, 2 week term limits. Osama says 2 week term limits. Oh boy, is that a revolving door? I don't mean to laugh. This is such a serious subject. Sometimes somebody asked me when I did the thing with Jennifer, and we were enjoying each other. We're talking about incredibly heavy end of the world topics, but we're smiling and chatting. And both of us have transcended the crying part. And so you separate yourself from the enormity of the issue so you can discuss it. And what are we supposed to do? Cry through the whole thing, or just really just try to be, talk about a subject and be somewhat pleasant? Because I was crying today, and I don't want to do that tonight. I didn't want to do that tonight. So where should we go here? Dee Dee says taxes should be structured so that no one can get rich.
I
Well,
like it. I like
yeah,
it.
that's an overhaul, and not the way that it was overhauled now. Oh, and another thing I love when I see these freaking morons say that Trump cleaned the swamp. Where are these people from? Trump cleaned the swamp. All right, wait a minute. Mother Nature's son Bernie already said he would vote for Biden. He did? Well, then I must have missed something. I had to have missed something. Why would he say something so early like that? But if you have a link, send it to me, all right? environmentalcoffeehouse@gmail.com. Anybody can send me anything there, and I look for it. Okay. Um, let's see. CB says, as a Vermonter, Bernie is the same now as he was 40 years ago. I worked with him. So he has been with the same message. So the message finally, it's come of age. I don't know. I just don't like to be negative. I don't like to see the paranoid side. We're getting paranoia from the top. We need to stop submitting and succumbing to the paranoia. And that's what's really sad, you know? Even on the left, the paranoia is there. It's hard.
Definitely.
It's hard. Anthony says Trump had the audacity to call Biden basically a moron. Who can respect a president who calls other candidates names like a child? But that's what we're living in. That's what we're living in.
And
And
he's
we
and
all
he's
do it.
yeah, and he appeals to this. His school bully tactics appeals to his electorate.
Yeah. But it happens on our side too. It happens in the comment sections because the split between us, progressives and the centrists, and we're all supposedly, it's happening all the time. Everyone is fighting. Everyone is fighting. I don't know what to say about it because I don't know how to stop it. I don't like it.
I know how to stop it either.
Well, you guys, you're out there. Who thinks that they have an idea how to stop the ugliness and the nastiness and the fighting that's going on between everybody in our country when at the top it's coming down as almost an edict that we have to be small, petty people.
And again, at my age, I'm more of a theoretist than I am a man of action. Now, my days of action are fast passing. It happens with age. So, although I don't really have an immediate solution, well, I kind of do, but it's so radical, nobody would even consider it. My solution actually is to just take the wealth from the wealthy through confiscatory taxes and then redistribute the wealth to everybody else. If there are privations, let us share them. But again, there's a little bit of nihilism in me, and I don't know if there's a way out of this maze. But if there is, it has to be discovered by the young people, I think. For me, I am focused on just working on things that give me meaning and personal meaning, and I have to admit and part of that is teaching. So Um, I don't know if
Fiesta
that
thinks,
applies to you as well.
well, Fiesta thinks Bernie's a schlemiel, she says. Everybody's, you know what, and I respect all of your, your feelings. Don't get me wrong here. And I like to brainstorm and talk through a lot of stuff. And I haven't made a decision. I like Bernie only because of what I saw happen. I watched it. I went to Philly. I went to Philadelphia. I interviewed people for Real Progressives. I was on the street doing it when I still could do it, even though I had someone with me that helped me with my stuff. But it was magical, really, how we all felt. And if you weren't part of it, it's too bad, because it really was magical. And for like a split second, we thought there was a chance. We did think there was a chance that maybe, maybe we could change things. But it didn't happen. Fiesta. She's funny tonight. Drop a large bomb on DC. They all need to go. Hey, listen, we could get in trouble for that one on my channel. These days, with all the censorship. Oh my God. So, let's see. Rick says, for any chance of survival, vegan. Okay, that's a whole. Oh, I just did something funny. I can't see anybody. Vegan. Now I can. And oh, Shiva. She says Bernie swearing in as president is a good start. I like this interaction tonight. You guys are all really hot. You're all on it. You're all on it because we is. So Fiesta now see, I don't know Fiesta. She says that Bernie is. He'll sell us out. He showed his true colors. No one was more for him than you were, but you see, you're just disillusioned because of all the shit that happened. But I can't tell you what you are.
And what true colors? How is he showing his true colors?
Well,
Please explain.
yeah,
Yeah.
really, explain. Is it because he has a vacation home because he made money off his books? Is it because he said that he was going to support Clinton and he did if he'd lost? Is it because he did not sue the DNC? Is it because he didn't fight? I don't know. There's a lot of things, but we're not inside the Senate. We don't know what goes on. There was a lot of crap floating around that Bernie was threatened and Bernie was this and that, but he's still there and he's still fighting and he's still talking to people. I don't know how anybody could really hate the dude. I just don't feel that way, but that's okay. I respect my friends. Let's see, Osama says, you pursue a scorched earth policy long enough, you end up with a scorched earth. Guy McPherson. Jeffrey says the Wizard of Oz is perfect analogy for our times. But who's behind the curtain? Who's behind the curtain? There's a good one. We see that Trump is in front of the curtain. We see that Bolton and Pompeo were in front of the curtain. Who's behind the curtain? The Koch brothers? The DeVos? The Mercers? Who's that other one? All those rich people.
Okay, Fiesta has explained.
She said it.
Yeah. He showed his true colors by folding so easily, by not fighting back immediately from Iowa. And I agree with that. He did fold awfully easily. I'm not sure she was ready to lead the country, to be honest. In fact, I'd rather see a different president than Bernie Sanders, but someone from his group. I like Bernie in the back being, again, the theoretician, the ideologue. I would prefer that, I mean, the president's caught up with day-to-day decisions. Need someone younger and more active for something like that. I don't want his vision to be clouded by the day-to-day trivia.
Well, I haven't made up any of my mind yet. Of course, I don't know. My gut loves Tulsi Gabbard, like I said, but it's a shame. And she's 37, and if she doesn't win this time, maybe she'll has a place. Maybe she could be Secretary of State, whatever. There's a lot of candidates, and I love the way all the talk show pundits say, oh, there's 3,000 in the running, how many are going to get to debate? It has to be 20 people. So Oh, let's see. Fiesta feels like I didn't know that. Fiesta? She has respect for Tulsi. Maybe there's a bigger movement for Tulsi than I thought.
Hmm.
People like to put her down. The Democrats already trashed her because of her father's politics back in the day. But people grow up, and she grew up, and I said it earlier. She grew up and changed, and she thinks for herself. She didn't follow her family. But when you grow up in a family and there's a dynamic, you tend to sometimes follow them until you wake up and you see what's out there. With that whole thing with her father being, they weren't for gay marriage. Nobody was for gay marriage 40 years ago or 30 years ago or whatever. All right, she's 37. Nobody understood it. So I give her that credit. But, oh, Nina Turner, live the dream. I live the dream. Nina Turner. But I don't know if she's with Bernie, but I don't think that Nina's going to do it, even though I don't even think that well, she's got a name, but I don't know. I don't know. Well, this got into a political discussion pretty quick, but that's what's going to start happening because it's that time, and we are going to talk about it. And we may also we may be people that understand climate change and environmental degradation. We understand we're in the Anthropocene, and we do understand we don't have forever, but we're still here, and we're still in a process, and there's a lot of people still in the fight. What do you say to that, Paul?
And we've got more years left still. I mean, as far as we know, or certainly we have another day left. And as long as you still draw breath, you still have to find meaning, at least in good works or something that is meaningful to you. Um, and I don't know. I guess I was just a bit more tired from working two back-to-back 12-hour shifts, Sandy, than I realized.
Yeah, I figured. Well, we've been on for a while. I think this has been a good conversation. My neck is killing me. I took two what is it? NSAIDs, ibuprofen. I don't like taking them very often, but tonight I'm desperate and my neck really hurts, and I wanted to do this with you.
And
So
I really appreciate it. And Sandy, I must tell you, of course, I focus on the biotech sector in my investments, and there are a lot of companies that are working on pain medications. But the thing is, the FDA is just really being tough on them. I mean, they don't want to pass anything,
oh, I don't even want to go there in this
I know it's a long
conversation.
subject,
It's
but
a long subject. They can go watch our interview from before
yeah,
on
there's
your
just
channel.
certain sectors that, certain types of drugs that the FDA just doesn't want to see right now. And unfortunately, that's one of the areas. Um, they're just not being reasonable about it.
Well, I think this has been good. I'm glad that we did this. We have 39 people with us. That's a pretty big, for us in our little corner. I always say, our little 0.00005% of the world. Thank you for joining us. And I'd like to put it open to the house before we go and let Paul go to sleep and me go to sleep because I have to get up early. Unfortunately, tomorrow I have a wake and I have a double whammy. I have a wake and I have to go with my daughter to take our old cat, 17-year-old kitty, that is the lovable thing, to go over the Rainbow Bridge. And that's what
Hmm.
she's calling it. So tomorrow's not an easy day for me. And I will
No.
have my daughter, and I have a lot of other people who we've lost somebody that a friend of ours. It used to actually be a guy I dated, but that's a long time ago. Because between my divorce and my current husband, I had a few boyfriends there. Sandy is a trooper. I'm a trooper only because I'm propping myself up. You guys always don't know what's going on. I might have a back brace on sometimes. I'm really a mess. But people always say, "Oh, but Sandy, you look good. You look good." Well, I don't know. I take vitamins. I try to keep myself as healthy as possible, and I'm not eating crap. Months now. Months now. I haven't had sugar, garbage, but everybody knows that because they heard that in front of the panel discussion that nobody cut off that video with the Lord you and I was blabbing about. Oh my God, came off like a moron on that one. Oh, is my cat sick? No, it's my daughter's 17-year-old cat, and I actually
So it's
found.
too dang old, huh?
Well, I found that cat. It was a barn cat. I found the cat, brought it home. My daughter, then when I split up with her father, my daughter took the cat, and then she had a dog, and better than having a kid, you know. And he's a lovely cat, but he's having seizures, and he's very skinny. And I'm just, you know, she just lost her Rottweiler in November, so my baby's having some tough times. She is. So that's what I got to do tomorrow. I got to be mama to my 30-year-old tomorrow. I'm going to be. So what do you say, guys?
Thank you for having me on.
Is everybody pretty cool with saying goodnight? Because, man, 35 of you. Let's end with a couple of good ones. Mother Nature's son. We have a few more years left, but is it really going to matter much who's in charge when it all collapses? I say I just wanted some class in the White House. I wanted to go down with a classy
Let's have
ship.
some wealth redistribution before it all goes down before it all goes down the drain.
Oh, Live the Dream says don't take his life with the cat. It's up to my daughter. I don't want to do that either, but if we don't know if he's in pain. We'll find out tomorrow. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Paul. Why don't you make your closing statement? Because we have been.
Well, I mean, as Mother Nature said, you know, I do argue for a massive wealth redistribution policy. Let us, as we circle down the drain here, let us end world poverty, or at least American poverty. We certainly are capable of that with what we've got.
Yep.
And much of the world poverty as well. Again, I'm a bit of a nihilist. I don't think that we have beyond a few decades, maybe 10 years, 20 years left, which ironically is related to my own mortality, expected mortality per the Social Security mortality tables. I've probably only got about 17 to 20 years left.
I don't even want that many. If I got to feel like this.
But again, it's up to the young now, the young generation to get to. I hate to say it, I'm talking like Jim Hansen, aren't I? To get us out of this mess.
Well, I guess, yeah. You know, I mean, they're the ones. The younger generations are now graduating with all these technological degrees, and they're the ones that are, you know, what are we going to do? You know, we can't do much. We can talk.
Yeah, we were just tired old consumers. In my case, a former consumer. I don't consume much these days.
Well, I did today. I went to the garden store. I bought.
That's okay.
Well, I bought spinach and lettuce and things my husband wasn't. Well, actually, he was.
Come on, that's not consuming. That's
but I bought 2 flower pots too. You know, I want a little beauty around the house.
Well, we can forgive you for that, Sandy.
Okay, forgive me, but I am a consumer and I am a hypocrite, and I can't lie. You know, I mean, I try very hard not to, and now I'm trying to purge everything. I'm trying to sell stuff. So if I open an eBay store, I'll show you all where it is. All right, guys. Well, listen. Thank you so much for coming, all of you. Anthony, Darren, Dee Dee, CB, Forsaken Companion. I didn't see her. Shh. Our friend here. Sure. Wait, I can't read tonight. Sharana, you may. The casualties never stop, and don't forget the radiation and pollution still bleeding into the most pristine paradise environments because of fallout from our endless wars. It's unconscionable. You know what? That's a good one to end with, because that could start a whole other stream for another night, another discussion. And I'm sure we're going to do it. We have a good chemistry.
I just want everybody to know, if I may make a plug, Brian and I are going to be live tomorrow with the Natural Progressive.
Oh, is tomorrow night the free for, what is it? Wait, tonight was Monday. Wasn't tonight supposed to be her
Yeah, certainly. If I was sent a link, I'd probably join for a little bit.
Is she on? Because are we competing with her? I wouldn't do that. We want to be all together. But
right.
Well, if she's going to go on, I think she's doing it maybe Tuesday. I think she wrote to me and said Tuesday. But I'm going to be if I'm driving home, or if I stay at my daughter's, I'll just join from wherever I am, because I love this community we're building. I really do. I love the community we're building. And I wish I knew all, some of you last summer so I could have invited you to our big bash, and I am never having another party again. All right, guys.
All right, and if NP's on, I might join for a bit. Thank you, Sandy, for having me on. It was really about Memorial Day, what I really wanted to talk about. We
And we
did.
did. And we did. And we segued into a political
Yeah.
discussion, which was fine.
For those of you who came late, make sure you rewatch the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you. Peace. Right. That was great.
Thanks, Sandy.